I'm not getting taken down by Dr. Gabe Cook.
How many pubes have I got?
It is some serious bush going on there. It's dense. Hello everybody and welcome to the Neutral Cider Hotel, your warm cider shelter against the cold winds of COVID rubbishness. But enough of the negativity. My name is Gabe Cook and I'm the Ciderologist, and this is a happy, positive place. Why? I can hear you all fervently ask. Well, partly it's because I've got a book. Did I tell you I've got a book? Possibly. I might have done. But what's even better than having a book? It's the opportunity to write a second book. I'm not going to give away too much just yet. We might be talking more about that a little later in the show. But the thing that's got me most excited is that I decided to anagram Neutral Cider Hotel earlier on, and there are some fantastic names. So, ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be oracled there until, which is precisely what you're going to be for the next hour or so, a fantastic chat. And joining me on this delectation hurler, I think you know where I'm going with this one, it's Mr. Martyn Goodwin Shaman. Dear friend, how you doing?
Good. I'm just hurling oracles. What was the anagram?
Oracled there until. Oh, I mean, that is sexy.
There until. Yeah, like call me off guard. I am all good. I am just drinking cider right now. I've been doing housework all week and just working like a dog in hospitality. And I will just add this here to the podcast. Are we going to have a different sound? Are we going to have a different bell for the new book? Or is this going to continue as a single plug?
Would that be a double plug, technically? What happened just there?
Yeah. Can it be a ding ding?
A ding ding.
Ding ding. See, yeah.
Ding ding ding.
Maybe it'll be a honk or something. I'm not sure. We'll leave that up to producer Scott to work that out, I'm sure. So you've been busy boy, hospitality. Funnily enough, that's obviously we're going to be talking Helen from the Burum collective later on about the challenges happening within hospitality today and the fantastic work that they're doing. So we're looking forward to that. And also joining us, as ever, it's the very special crenellated urolith, Mr. Grant.
Right, no. No, right. What is that? What even is that?
Yes.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. Anything that's got a euro at the start, we're talking a little bit.
So you're going to have to spell that.
Say it again.
Crenellated urolith.
Urolith as in Europe.
A URO as in urinary tract.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm not sure what crenellated means. Oh, so crenellated means providing a wall of a building with battlements.
Obviously.
And a urolith. This is live, isn't this amazing, ladies and gentlemen? Fantastic, riveting stuff. Hearing me. It's a bladder stone. So you've got an embattled bladder stone. That's what I've called you, basically. I mean, let's be fair. You've probably been called worse, haven't you? I certainly have.
I'd say that's pretty accurate. I mean, I would say one of those is going to be a pretty hardy thing, right?
Tell you what, it's going to be bloody painful, isn't it?
Sore.
Of course, cider will never give you a bladder stone because the acidity breaks down the stones, says Dr. Gabe with no medical evidence whatsoever.
Whoa.
Moving on.
No, don't give out medical advice just in case we get fucking sued or some shit. Like I'm not getting taken down by Dr. Gabe Cook with his fucking one book
because of a bladder stone.
Can I clarify for the record? I am not a qualified doctor. More like Dr. Doolittle, talking to the apples or indeed to the leaves. Anyway, Grant, how's your week been?
Good. Yeah, it's been a pleasant week. Much cideriness as usual. My sort of highlight of this week was reading a little wine mail out newsletter called J'adore le Plonk. by a writer called Rachel Henry. J'adore le planck. You would be better at saying that, Gabe. You're good at accents.
Le jeu de blanc.
Mais oui. Which is a lovely little wine newsletter, and it's nothing too serious, but it's really well written. It's really thoughtful, and although it's a wine newsletter, a lot of it can be translated quite easily into cider too. The latest one was called Sugar, Saturn, and Sangria, about the history of sweetening wine. But the one I want to mention that kind of struck a chord was a previous one called Wine and Worth, which sort of openly explored the anxiety surrounding working in hospitality right now, and encouraged us not to look down on people for their choice of wine, and I guess cider, for us at a time when disposable income and luxuries like wine and fine cider are not a given. So there was a line in it that really kind of made me sort of take a step back, and it said, "I don't think I need to tell you that anywhere that has previously catered to your needs now needs the favour returning. I hope that if you are able, you are showing support where you can." I just thought it was a really nice, supportive thing to say for the hospitality industry right now. You'll probably feel a bit of that, Martyn, with your current work status.
It is one at the moment where just the kind of the role reversal of being in the bar is completely different. So you're essentially cleaning to maintain it, and the hospitality element of it is almost secondary, which is like odd because it's, especially the pub I work in, it's quite small and intimate, and it's all about the kind of community aspect. Whereas now it's like just stopping people and cleaning everything again and again and again, and it's for a good cause, but it's just like, how much of it do you sacrifice by pulling it along? And I think what's kept me going good on it is the amount of people that see the amount of work in it and actually understand and care and thank you for it, which is nice. So it's nice to read something that kind of brings that to light as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And on a cheerier subject than the end of all things in hospitality. Go on.
I was just going to say, you can check the show notes for a link to that mail out, so you can sign up for it.
There you go. And what you can't sign up for is the pride I have, because this week, just gone, it was the 20th anniversary of, I want to say, a seminal album of my youth, and it's Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water. And
my days! Wow.
I put up a story on Instagram because Limp Bizkit posted one, and it was just like, I couldn't tell you how much I've listened to this record as a kid and like burnt it out. So I bought 3 copies in the end because it just stopped playing.
When did you buy your last copy? Like, was this within a year, or was this with like last year?
No, there was like over 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
That would have been every day. And this is when you would go home, put it on your CD player, then you'd walk out and you'd have like your Walkman. So it was like battered across all formats. But because I posted that, Fred Durst messaged to like it, and then liked it as well. So I was like, oh, there you go. That's made my week. So if you're listening,
life goals
Fred
being
Durst,
completed. That's incredible. Yeah. Are you now going to have 2 lightning bolts like tattooed on your buttock or something in commemoration of such an auspicious occasion?
Yeah, honestly, when I saw it, I felt like my urolith had been crenellated.
What would 10-year-old Martyn? What would 10-year-old Martyn think to that?
Yeah, honestly, I have. My brother gave me it. We had the red cap as a kid, and he got it signed by Fred Durst. So somewhere in Devon, there's an old, now worn pink hat.
Signed.
So the guy who got that, yeah. But we went to see him at that Hyde Park gig, the free one, and I was about, I think, 11 or 12. And I know it's a joke, and like it's Limp Bizkit, but they were fucking epic live. They were so huge. It was intense. And it was just, I was like crowd surfing as an 11-year-old. It's just like the most fucking heavy shit. But I just wanted to say thank you, Fred Durst. Thank you.
Bravo, Fred. What a guy. That's amazing.
And you know that he's now
20 years
sitting at home listening to this going, fuck, I never thought I would make it onto that cider podcast. I can't believe it. What would 30-year-old Fred think right now? Sitting there.
Bring it on.
How old is Fred now?
How old is Fred now? Yeah. 50?
I think us speculating on the age of new metal icons is just holding us from the news. So shall we swiftly go on into the hotel room and have some news?
Give it a segue.
Let's enter into the drawing room, recline, and have some news. And now, here in the bowels of the Neutral Cider Hotel, it's time for the news. What is rocking everybody's world this week, people?
So, I think what I've got here is now going to be outdated as of today, but Hawks Cidery were in the news. The Urban Cidery Hawks, they usually have a community service of like drop off apples and get cider. But this year, in all its madness of 2020 and COVID, they gave out sort of boxes that you could send your apples in the post. And they got 12 tons of community sourced apples from standalone trees and small traditional orchards, which is just, it just seems insane for an amount to go through the bloody Royal Mail. But I just love reading about it. It was on The Guardian. If you're looking for the link, it's How an Orchard.
It'll be in the show notes.
I'm going to read out the whole link.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
/
I didn't say Renaissance. I literally went blah.
It's quite long.
Colon. Everyone likes a colon. / No, it'll be in the show notes. But it's a good read. And I will add, it's now been outdated because the news came out today. What happened, Gabe? What happened with Hawks?
Well, so the founder of Hawks, Mr. Simon Wright, it was announced that he's going to be leaving the company, and he established the business. Gosh, it will be at least 5 years ago, possibly even a couple more than that, from very humble beginnings out in an archway underneath Forest Gate, and then got some investment and created the fantastic cider making facility on Druid Street on the Bermondsey Beer Mile, and it piqued the interest of Brewdog, who bought out a few years ago. And obviously it's time for Simon to seek out pastures new, which is exciting for him. And it will be, so it's a bit of a loss, I think, in a way, because it's been such a strong presence in terms of trying to impress upon modernity within cider and trying to give the smaller cider maker a bit of a fair crack of the whip. So thank you, Simon, for all of your endeavors and activities. But it's going to be really interesting to see what Brewdog do going forward. I know that Sarah Warman is sort of leading up the cider component from now on. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next phase.
Well, their archway as well, the amount of things that they've done for cider there is the first time I tried Angry Orchard was down there, like the proper Walden stuff with Ryan, Meet the Makers, stuff like that. So especially in such an urban environment, to have something so forward-thinking for cider has always been a blessing for the city. So if you are in the capital, do check it out.
What was great about it as well was that they had an amazing cider fridge full of other products.
Yes.
They could easily have just been like, nope, you get Hawks, this Hawks, that Hawks, that's about it. But they had this brilliant fridge. I'm assuming it's still there. I've not been for a while, and hopefully that it stays that way. Because they were real like champions for good cider. So let's hope that Brewdog don't fuck it up.
I think we all share your sentiment there, Grant. Absolutely. So, moving into another piece, I can see here that you've got an interesting article that appears in Men's Health magazine. You're a very healthy chap. What do you need to read such a magazine for? Come on.
Well,
I know you do press-ups every day,
every single day, to counter the bottles of cider that I've had the night before. Yes, this was again. Came via the alerts, Google alerts that I get every day about cider, Men's Health, top 11 ciders. And to be honest, I didn't look too far into the actual article. I just thought it was interesting that cider is making its way into publications like Men's Health, and that it's kind of getting a game in the sort of mainstream media, or health media as well, which seemed like an odd choice. And what I thought was also quite interesting, the sort of previous and next article alongside this one were 24 face masks for outdoor workouts and 15 exercises for a flatter stomach. Right in between that was the top 11 ciders from Men's Health.
What I find weird with the sort of the health aspect is a lot of people that I serve in the pub now, but before in the shops as well, was everyone has like a very weird regimented idea of what cider is, and a lot of people think that it's just high sugar, and it's literally like a mind blown moment when you're like, oh no, this is bone dry, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean it doesn't have loads of sugar? Like, that's just what cider is.
Whoa. And that is the Horse of Knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to listen to the show before. The Horse of Knowledge has a little neigh every now and again when there is an interesting sort of technical point that is worth discussing. Martyn's raised a really important thing here, that yes, lots of ciders that are available in the marketplace in the UK, in the US, and all around the world are quite sweet. They have got sugar in them, but that's because the sweetness, whether it be in the form of sugar or apple juice, has been added post-fermentation. The fact of the matter is, nearly every single drop of cider made in the world all the time will start its life as a bone-dry cider, because all of the sugar that is naturally contained within those apples gets converted into alcohol by the yeast. So we start off with bone-dry still ciders. And yet, so that sort of epiphany moment when, and increasingly there are more drier ciders available in the marketplace. So when somebody's presented with one of those drinks, it's just a bit of a shock, if nothing else. They may like it or they may not, because that's a bit of a personal preference, a palate profile and things like that. But just the idea and the concept that cider can be and starts its life as a zero sugar drink is a cool thing, and something that more people should be aware of.
Thank you, Gabe.
That's your work.
Well, that was the end of the point. Just that a lot.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Yeah, you kind of hammered it to death, if I'm being honest. At least people know. So if you're listening in, there you go. You ruined the fun.
Do you understand now, people? Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to take your throwaway comment and ruin it. That is Ciderology.
I've never been called a Dalek before. Well, I've just interpreted you've called me a Dalek. Right. So, good news, exciting news, interesting news. Most important news was it was my birthday last week. Hooray!
Happy birthday!
Hooray! Cheers, man. So yeah, we had a drive in the countryside and had a cider. And actually, for anybody who in the UK, or when the opportunity affords to come over here, and you want to go on a bit of a sort of, as if you're driving through sort of Lord of the Rings, just on the English-Welsh border, running from Hay-on-Wye, running south over the Black Mountains. There's this fantastic road that takes you over the top of the hills, and then it drops you down to Llantony Priory, which are just sort of ruins, basically, but with a hotel and pub actually built into the ruins. And so you can have a pint of beer or cider as you wander around and pretend you're Frodo, looking at the old Númenórean.
What was your birthday cider?
Anyway, that's one for the...
What did you have?
What was mine? Oh, she is. John, we actually popped in to see Watkins. We drove up the Golden Valley, said hello to Dennis Watkin. And Dennis is like the nicest kind of chap, and he has a beard that I'm almost going to say you could literally get lost in. It is some serious bush going on there. It's dense. It is dense. It's like wire wool. It's really incredible. Ciders are quite earthy and rustic, I would say, for my temperament, but really cool. And he's been hit really hard this year because he's one of those cider makers who goes to all the shows, all the festivals. They pump out a lot of volume that goes for that kind of thing. So they've sold 25% this year of what they would normally do. So they're in, it's really tough. And so I really, really feel for them. So everybody get out there and drink Watkins cider. I tell you what I did try was a fantastic bottle of 2019 Albee Hill from the wonderful Eves, who we spoke to not so long ago. And this was the first time I tried the 2019 vintage, which was really interesting because it is definitely different to previous vintages, to previous iterations. It had a lot of different character to it. And you know what? We're double horsing. We're straight in. Come on. Why do we have these different flavors? So this is a cider that is made from just one orchard, the Albee Hill orchard in just outside the Finger Lakes in New York State in the US. And I came across it the first time a few years ago. And the 2017 vintage, I think, is what I've tried most of kind of recently. It's quite light and floral and kind of zingy. And this iteration, this vintage, was a little softer, a little broader, a little more kind of textured, a little less sort of fresh and brisk. And that's because the apple varieties within that orchard, they'll be a slightly different in the blend in terms of the nuance of which characters are at the front. Different weather conditions, different characters give slightly different flavor profiles. And this is just like wine, whereby you've got these brands that you know and love, and every year they produce a slightly different flavor profile.
I've got some other news as well. The Clitheroe in Lancashire is getting a wine, beer, natural wine, cider and beer bar called Corto. It is, it's
Clitheroe, not known as a hotbed of artisanal drinks normally, but this is a
exactly, cider. So it's a couple, Katie and Tom Mather, who are opening it. Although I think, obviously, as everyone, they've been set back slightly by the current situation. So I'm not sure when it'll be opening, but I thought it was a pretty interesting announcement. And as you say, Gabe, for somewhere like that, I'm sure an announcement like this for a bar in London wouldn't really, would probably go quite unnoticed. But yeah, fine.
Isn't Katie Mather her sort of Instagram kind of name Shiny Biscuit? She is a sort of beer reviewer and taster, and and I know that she's into cider because I think she's done some things with the Manchester Cider Club and Dick and Kath and Crown and Kettle. So it's great. What's really exciting is that even a handful of years ago, these places would have opened up and it would have been natural wine and beer, but cider, there was a decent chance that cider would not have been included, yet they do always seem to be there now. Those people who are interested in those interesting drinks, they know that cider can do this thing, and they seem to really invite it and bring along for the ride, which is awesome.
Cider would always probably have been an afterthought, in those kind of shops and bars and that, and it's exciting that that's not the case anymore.
Okay, so that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Cider news sorted, done, dusted. Another week. Let's move on. It's time for the big interview. Neutral Cider Hotel. It is time for our big interview, the time where we get to have an in-depth chat with somebody that we consider to have a great insight into the world of cider and perry. Martyn, who are we speaking to today?
So tonight, checking into the Neutral Cider Hotel, we have the creator of the Burum Collective. It's a community blog run by volunteers. It's an inclusive space for people in beer, wine and cider industries and allows them to meet. It's written work as well with opinion pieces and educational essays. Please welcome to the hotel, Helen and Smith. Woo! How you doing, bud?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you?
Hungover, but all good, all good. I think we're all right in the hotel today. Basically, just to kickstart it, what inspired you to create the Burum Collective? Like, how did this come about?
So, I mean, it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. I wanted to create an environment that was much, that was really like friendly and inclusive. And over lockdown, I just found that like I actually ended up speaking to a lot more people in the drinks industry than I had before. And I suppose I wanted to recreate that through the website and just have environments that aren't so toxic and are more friendly. And you know, I think the other thing that I wanted to do was, you know, make drinks media slightly more accessible and less formal. I think it takes itself quite seriously. But also, yeah, I think the drinks industry also needs to do better in terms of things like inclusivity. And I guess I want to make a safe space to champion those in our industry who deserve it, but and also maybe have a space where these kinds of discussions can take place. And yeah, that was a bit of a long-winded answer. So
well, how's response been so far then? Since do you find that a lot of other people felt similarly to you with lockdown in terms of finding it easier to talk to people?
Yeah, definitely.
Over the internet.
I think so. I think it's been quite nice for people who are maybe a bit more introverted and aren't super good at networking. I've never really been a big networker. I used to work in theatre, and it was my least favourite part of the entire job because it was just heinous.
What did you do? What did you do in theatre?
I used to be a lighting technician and designer. Well, I say designer very loosely. I did some designs.
That's fine. Do you get loose designers?
Yeah, we weren't going to hold you to that and go, hang on, she said designer.
I wasn't going to.
I've been through her work.
I was going to check your qualifications.
I wasn't going to go into the CV.
I know, but someone might be listening, and they might say, "I know that person," and that's a lie. It's not a lie. It's just I just wasn't very good at it.
We lie all the time.
Fantastic. Okay. So yeah, I always hated networking in that environment. It just didn't. It wasn't for me. But it has been nice being able to, I guess, speak to people who aren't in the same city as you or even in the same country as you. Yeah, I've been able to speak to people all over the world, and it's been really wonderful. And I think a lot of the people that have interacted with Burum and have signed up on social media or have interacted with us, like feels quite similarly. And I know there are a few like forums that are closed off where there's lots of people. I see people talking about certain like beer forums and things where they're like, it's just horrible in there and not very nice. And actually there's a lot of people not even just being nasty about other people, but being nasty about breweries and the stuff that they've made. And the reason that we all work in the industry is because surely we love the product. So if you can't even do that bit, I don't know. It just seems it's just a shame, really, I think.
Well, there's almost a weird inherent problem with, say, craft beer fine cider and all those things where you like this product that's a niche version of it. And I've found that a lot of people get excited about it. And there's almost like a kind of squandering of that from people that like gatekeepers who are like, well, you don't actually know enough. And it's the first barrier for a lot of people is kind of snobbish twats behind bars. How is hospitality in the UK through your eyes?
Not great. It's hard though, because I actually had this conversation not very long ago with someone where they were like, it's the bad things you will always remember most. So
yeah,
there are better experiences than there are bad, but at the same time there's enough for you to kind of not feel always very welcome, and like whether that's how a customer speaks to you as like a bartender, or whether that's how bartender speaks to you as a customer, like there's a bit of it's not always the best space. So yeah, it definitely needs to change. There's a lot of work that I want to see done in hospitality, especially in terms of being able to protect people who are more likely to be at risk of either sexism, homophobia, racism, transphobia. Like I would really like to see more being done, because I think it's always going to happen, but you need to have procedures in place to protect those members of staff, or the other way around, to be able to protect customers and be training your staff properly. And just people need to stop being gross, basically.
I know. I was going to say, it just sounds like you're saying just be nice to people.
Be nice.
And that's, for some people, for some reason, that's a hard concept for some people, and especially, as you say, in hospitality, the lack of respect that a lot of people have for someone working behind a bar or waiting tables, is kind of astonishing.
Yeah.
And I think like the Burum Collective is a kind of the path of education, maybe as well. So that people can read it, join in, be part of it, and then you sort of learn and grow through that, rather than someone at a bar. If you're a dick to someone at a bar and they say don't be a dick, you're not gonna take that in, are you?
Yeah, exactly.
So is that something you're trying to do with Burum as well, is kind of open people's eyes to?
Yeah, hopefully. And I suppose also by being able to share people's experiences, if they want to share them, that's always the most important thing. Or to be able to be a platform for someone else to be able to tell their story. I think then maybe at least someone who doesn't know about a particular problem that someone might be facing could say, oh, I hadn't realized that. Like, I'll make sure that I don't, maybe do this or do that. Or I think, hopefully, I think if people can see outside of what they see as hospitality, what is in front of them, especially if you live in an area that is maybe not super diverse, you kind of have this little bubble around you. And I think for people who don't see outside of that, that's where the internet is actually really amazing, because it means that you can be introduced to people virtually. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just basically virtually introduce everyone to everyone else, but like all the great people. So, and the people that aren't gross and aren't rude and mean, just the nice ones. So,
where would you like to see it go? How would you like to see it grow? Where do you see Burum being, next year or in 2 years' time? Or what's your plans with it?
I mean,
I sounded like you're like a dad or something, didn't I? What are your plans with my Burum?
Or a job interview.
I know it was. Yes, you applied for the light design job.
It's
sorry, that's come up too many times.
It's
that's
also painful because I didn't get so many of them.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Grant. Oh, Grant.
No, I'm joking.
Oh, you made me feel really bad
no, I'm joking. I left that industry, I was the one that closed the door.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
definitely.
Thank you. Thanks, Martyn.
I'm still enamored.
Fuck you, lighting industry.
I'm still enamored by the whole. Tell me where you see yourself in 5 years.
Why do you always take the piss out of my enthusiasm? It's as I keep saying to you, it's inward.
Well,
and it's there. It's just not for everyone to see.
Okay, it's not for Helen right now. So Helen, where'd you see the Burum Collective?
Sorry, Martyn.
Sorry, Martyn.
Yeah, where'd you see the Burum Collective, Helen? Where do you see it? That's my me happy voice.
You see, Helen, ultimately it's all about just taking the mickey out of each other's voices. This is the heart of what is key to the journalistic fervour here at the Neutral Cider Hotel.
I'm just really sad because obviously Martyn didn't realize that this is a job interview
Oh.
for his job. So
yeah. So, you've got a nicer voice than me. But yeah, no, seriously, where do you see? What's the kind of goal with the collective?
So, the next step is pretty much education. When I first sort of started writing about what I wanted to make, and I kept going back to three things, and it was people, community, and education. And education is something that is a privilege and isn't always accessible to everyone. And drinks education is strange because it's so self-taught for the most part, unless you were to go to university and do things like really clever brewing and chemistry degrees and stuff like that. So I really want Burum to be able to be a place where you can get as many resources in terms of beer, wine, and cider as physically possible, whether that's content that we've made or commissioned to make, or that is just simply like all the resources in one place so people can find stuff quite easily. I find that it just makes it easier for people. You can kind of, hand it over to them and say, hey, this is where everything is if you need a hand, or and also I'd quite like to do things like interviews with people who have gone down the more formal educational routes, where they can talk about their experience, and so people kind of know what they're going to let themselves in for, because a lot of this stuff can be quite expensive as well. So people should really know how much they're going to get out of it, or so that's kind of the next step. So hopefully throughout 2021, I think Rachel's about to start doing her wine education stuff so we're going to start with wine, which makes sense because it's a beast, and I think is the most inaccessible in terms of language, and those labels are designed to confuse you. They want you to feel inferior, because that means that you really don't think that this product is for you. And Rachel's goal is to make wine as accessible as possible, and to, be the person to bring you over the bridge, basically, and not be so scared. So that's going to be really cool, I think. Yes.
Helen, can I put forward?
Can we just say, because there's no one's watching this on video, but Gabe basically had his hand up. Gabe had his hand, because we've discussed before to make it flow. I'll put your hand up if you want to ask a question. Gabe is the only person that's done it in 6-7 weeks, and it was just brilliant.
I'm so sorry. As soon as I said it, I was like, no one can see this.
I admit I got a little bit excitable. That only because I just wanted to proffer to you, Helen, the opportunity that if you did want to have a fantastic cider textbook, could I recommend to you Ciderology by Gabe Cook, available feel
no.
about
Put your hand up for that.
Yeah.
Oh, my
for
God.
Pure base commercial sellout reasons, of course, not out of the kindness of my heart. Come on, Martyn, you know me now.
Oh, Jesus.
But that also said, I also do run some cider sort of training and bits and bobs myself. Anyway, I would love to share any knowledge that I have around cider with you guys, and sort of, if Ben needs to come on the training courses, I'll be glad to have him on, because you're doing such an awesome job about just getting the word out there. And I'm in complete agreement with you that education, whether it be super formal or just increasing knowledge, that can only be really, really good for people who are on the front line trying to advocate these drinks. And if you talked about, I really like the way you put it, if with wine labels are there to sort of make you feel sort of inferior, then cider labels are, well, they're getting better. Normally they make you feel like you're just in an orchard in 1974, quite possibly sat on a massive 55 tractor. But so there's still lots of ways for cider to go too. But yeah, go education and go ciderology. Thank you.
Speaking of drinks education, have you got any education in the drinks industry? Just like a Cicerone?
Cicerone.
Cicerone.
For a minute, I thought you were just going to end it as if you got any education, and I would have been like, no.
This is the interview.
Yeah.
We're back to it.
What were your results?
Yeah. What were your GCSEs like? So I've got level 1 certified beer server, which is very exciting. I have a little pin. I answered 40 questions and I got most of them right. Woohoo! No, it's very cool. I'm really glad that I've got it. And then the next level up is Cicerone, and that I am currently studying for. I was supposed to do it in the written part anyway, because there's no physical exams at the moment. I was supposed to do the written exam in early December, but I've just pushed it back to March because, I started lockdown with so much time and it was very exciting. And then I started a business, so it got a little bit more complicated. But yeah, so hopefully March. Woo.
Oh,
we'll see.
How are you finding it?
It's really really difficult.
Is it fun? Is it? Or...
It's good. I really like it. It's just there's a lot to it, and this is the problem I think with stuff being self-taught, is that I actually benefit from having somebody explain something to me, as opposed to just flicking through like a giant folder. But thankfully there are lots of tools that you can use, and Cicerone, the program themselves, have got some really great like YouTube videos where they'll talk you through like a style, so you can sit and do a tasting of a certain style, and then they'll talk you through like the history and then what it's like now and some commercial examples and stuff like that. So there is stuff available and it's free. So but again, it's only if you know that and you've it is. Yeah, it's quite a hefty thing, but I am really enjoying it. So
can I just ask about this pastry stout thing? Because I'm not really a beer person, and I'd see all these like dessert. They call dessert beers, like all these silly beers with like,
I think they're called monstrosities,
biscuits in them and stuff.
Monstrosities.
So what I'm trying to get at is are they? Because I look at it and I'm like, fuck off. Don't do that.
No, but I think...
but then am I like a jam roly-poly beer, right? That was one.
I'm going to jump in.
And it's like...
I'm going to jump in here.
I do want to know what the beer community actually thinks of this.
But
is it just a laugh? Are you taking the piss?
Grant, this
the beer community is trying to tell you.
It works almost in the other way, where someone's like, cider is cider, and I see these guys with these 750ml bottles and cork and cages, and I think, fuck off. Like, to be on the outside, it's kind of, and judge it. If someone's paying for something they want with their money, it doesn't matter how ludicrous we think it is. And those kind of like Omnipollo and that have brought in a weird use of lactose to the high extremes that have made things novel, but at least it's got people talking about it and engaging with it. So even if you hate it, it's not even the point, is it?
Well, that's a good answer. That's what I saw.
Sorry, Helen, you go.
I don't.
Well, should I put up my hand? I think that.
That's why you weren't getting invited in. You didn't have your hand up.
God, fucking hell.
Who's laughing now?
I also think that the beer industry, the way it moves is so fickle, and like it's that thing of like this thing. Things are like on roller coasters. They kind of go up and up because they're like, it's really cool, and then suddenly it's like, oh, one too many people have liked it, so now we hate it, and it's very like that. Like I think that it's kind of, I think I personally just from working in beer and being around stuff all the time, I'm very lucky because I get to taste a lot of stuff. So the sort of pastry stout and triple fruited sours and all this kind of stuff, like that had a build up from about this time last year to when they started going crazy. So like start of 20. Oh my God, what year is it? 2020. Sorry.
It feels like that. Everyone can relate to that.
The void.
So I think, yeah.
Is it over yet?
So by that point, I think I'd already tried so many that I was like, because literally every day when I go into work, I will taste anything that's new because your job is to be able to tell people what beer tastes like. So yeah, by that point, I'd tried so many that I was like, I just don't care anymore, and I need them to get out of my face. And then lockdown happened, so they did. I don't know if I caused it, but it happened. So
I mean, it was kind of also querying whether you can appreciate something like that because of the skill that's gone into it, or is it literally just like let's try and be as out there as we can. Let's try and, is it one-upmanship?
I think that there's definitely a skill to it in that to be able to do it right and to be able to do it non-synthetically. That's the skill, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of people doing things that are experimental. I'll never, have an issue with anyone doing that. And I also think, if I don't like a style, then that's just something that's not to my taste. There is sometimes, definitely from some people, an element of one-upmanship, and then that thing happens where, when you were at school and there was like the gang of boys, and there was always that one scrappy boy who just followed them round.
Martyn Gubbenjamin.
There's always breweries like that. So you've got the breweries who are like doing really cool things, and then about 6 months later when they've moved on, they're like, wait for me, we've also done, and no one cares. And or they've done it wrong, or they've used synthetics, or do you know what I mean? There's always this weird sad after that comes, but
because a few in cider, there's flavoring cider is a pretty contentious issue as well. I mean, a lot of people don't do it because of the cost that it adds to the final product, but it sounds pretty similar. Like if someone's just put a bucket load of flavouring into it, then generally people will be like, it's a bit shit. But
yeah.
If you impart flavour with barrel or macerating it with leaves or branches, or Highland forager Ryan likes to do.
Yes.
But I hope cider doesn't get to that silly point.
Well, I think cider also still needs to, I don't know, I guess step away from, I've not drank mainstream cider for such a long time. I'm also not even sure what's happening anymore. Because I remember the last time I really drank cider like that was, that kiwi thing, the old moot, and with ice, obviously, and it was
have the bottle on the table.
Yeah, but that was like 2012 or something. So like that was such a long time ago, and I guess, and now because I do just drink all the really good cider and the stuff that doesn't have all those preservatives and stuff in it, and like I almost don't know what's happening over there anymore.
I think it's just dark fruits now at the moment, or it was. I don't know what's happening.
That's just wild.
I'm the same as you. It's not something I've drank for a while, but yeah, hopefully it's every tap will soon be the highest quality of wild fermented cider.
I really do think that people will get over it. Like if they have to, like it always happens. Again, it's the roller coaster effect. It's just that cider's been on one for longer, but not as steep, maybe.
Well, so it kind of leans towards going back to what you were saying with the barrels and everything, Grant, and like pastry stouts. Beer is an ingredient-led process and has recipes, and they're replicatable, and you can copy someone's recipes and in fact get the same hops and the same lactose and adjuncts from the same suppliers world over. But cider's almost beholden to its vintage sort of nature. But do you think that beer will almost teach cider its faults in that way of like you're saying, say Omnipollo made Yellow Belly. I remember having that years ago and being like, fuck, that's insane. And then you try it a couple of years later and it's now not boring, but it's way muted compared to a lot of their other outgoings. But with cider, when someone does something interesting, say like use a certain variety or quince or keeving or a technique, when everyone does it right now, it doesn't feel like, oh, they're just copying. It feels like a nice community of small makers. But if it gets big enough, do you think it will have that same like, oh, they're just copying them for that a beer has?
I mean, maybe. I think that I don't know. I think I don't know what I think. Sorry, I dissociated.
It was a long question.
It was quite long.
I just left.
I think, yeah.
No, it's
the
fine.
question is, do you? So, do you?
Yeah. Why?
No.
You went through all that and then asked a yes or no.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that that'll always happen though. When stuff gets big enough, but I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's the people. It's the copying, but not. It's because if you're skipping steps and you're not really copying, you're like, oh, I quite like that final product, so I'm gonna cheat my way to the end. I think that is something that is when it's a problem. But again, that is just gonna happen the more people, because there's always people who are gonna, not everyone's gonna want to wait around for apples to fall off a tree, and people are lazy, and that's why there is cider that's mass produced like that anyway. So I guess the answer is I don't know.
Very articulate.
Yeah, well, you definitely didn't get the lighting job, I'm afraid, with that kind of answer. That's not what we want to be hearing. But thankfully, your passion and articulateness for drinks is considerably better. You've got the job. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Helen, thank you so much for being able to join us today. Alas, we I don't know where the time goes. We have already come to end of our time, but thank you for taking the time out to join us. For anybody who wants to learn more about the Burum Collective, what's the best place for them to go?
So it is we're at Burum Collective on all platforms, but it's BURUM Collective, and then we are also there at burumcollective.com. it's all very easy.
It's all very, very easy in there. Fantastic. Awesome. Helen, well, look, cheers to you. Thank you very much. And, good luck with getting through the rest of this year, 2020, and hopefully on to
the year of our Lord.
The year of our Lord, to better times ahead. And, have to come down to Cardiff and check out the Cardiff beer and cider scene.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun place.
Yeah,
so
it's
we
cool.
look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed your stay at the hotel.
Thanks for coming.
And now here at the Neutral Cider Hotel, we are going to taste our cider of the week, or actually something a little bit different. It's some ciders of the week. We're doing something a little bit different. Going to mix it up. Grant, what are we doing?
We are all tasting different ciders that have been sent to us from a cider maker called Sundström Cider, based in the Hudson Valley in New York State.
New York.
The cider maker there, Leaf Sundström, is animated by the search for the impacts of terroir and agriculture on cider's ultimate potential, and his conviction that cider from the northeastern US is poised to be among the best in the world. The fermentations with these ones start with a wild yeast Pied de Cuvée, and they... Oh, okay.
Jesus, the horse is loud today.
He was right in your ear there.
He was practically eating my ear. Shit.
I think, was he calling you, Gabe? Because I don't know what this is either.
Oh,
to be honest. A Pied de Cuvée.
You have to say it.
What's that?
Pied de Cuvée.
Well, if I read it normally, it's Pied de Cuvée.
Yeah.
Pie de Cuvée.
I believe it's a pie of COVID. That's what we're...
COVID pie.
This is a wine term. It's not something. The actual wine term is not one that I've known, because I've never sort of worked with any natural winemakers in that way. What, after a small amount of Googling, it seems to be is whereby you effectively have a starter, a bit like with a sourdough starter, I suppose. So you always have a little bit of something fermenting going, so that you effectively inoculate some new juice with some cider that is already fermenting. Albert does this down at Ross and Y. I'm pretty sure occasionally, not necessarily with every single cider, but occasionally if something is struggling, or if there was a particular cider that was producing something quite interesting, take a little bit of already fermenting cider and add it to your juice, and it's a starter. I think that's the easiest way to say.
Cool. So they use a starter, and then they run it long and cool to complete dryness, and it's aged in oak. And then the sparkling ciders, we have sparkling. We all got sparkling. I do. So they are traditional method without disgorgement. So are we ready to go?
Where does it say sparkling or not on yours?
It says
bottle conditioned.
Dry sparkling cider.
Mine says native ferment bottle conditioned. So I'm guessing it is.
Well, because mine underneath that says dry sparkling cider.
So does mine.
Does it actually?
Yeah. I blanked. Cause it put me on the spot when you went. No. You went like, have you got it? I was like, fuck, do I?
Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry.
It was more me. And also, I believe there was a horse there. Was that at my bemusement, or is that
saved
a term
by the
that
neigh? God, you lucky bugger.
What's the
disgorging?
Who set off? Who kicked the horse?
Disgorging.
Disgorgement.
Disgorging is so whereby you have an in-bottle fermentation process, with either sort of finishing off an initial fermentation, or you've added some extra sugar into the bottle and it's undergone another fermentation. Your yeast turns the sugar that you've got there into alcohol, and then it drops to the bottom as sediment. If you were doing the full method traditionnel, which is whereby you disgorge, which is to remove that yeast so that you do have a perfectly crystal clear naturally sparkling drink. But that's quite sort of fiddly, time-consuming process and can add a lot of extra sort of cost as well onto the product. So a lot of cider makers don't do that last step. And the result is that you've got a slightly hazy product. You will have a little bit of that yeast in the bottom, which, depending upon your point of view and your aspiration, if crystal clear isn't of paramount importance to you, it could be said that actually having some of the lees in there can add extra weight and texture and that kind of thing. So that's what we got.
There you go.
Right.
Cheers.
Here we go. Oh.
That's the...
Game mine's pretty lively.
With the carbonation, it just leaps right out of the glass there, doesn't it?
all over the MacBook.
Going.
Oh.
So for me, straight away, I'm being a facetious cunt, but the carbonation is actually I've not got it right next to my nose, and the smell is like coming off it, huge perfume already. Oh,
I'm gonna have to go get a cloth.
that's all right. But to keep this little interval going, so I have here the Sundström's Montgomery Place 2018. It's 60% Hughes, 20% Golden Russet, and 20% Newtown Pippin in a blend. It says fermented in stainless with native yeasts, and then aged for 6 months in neutral French barrels, followed by 6 months in stainless with fine lees. So expecting, like Gabe, you said there, the that texture from those lees. But the nose already, for mine's similar to that Derrida, that like orange huge on the nose, lemony, citrus. It just smells so fucking gorgeous, actually.
So mine is...
I'm back.
Oh. He's back.
Sorry.
He's back. That's right.
You go, Gabe. You're in the middle of something.
No, so my selection or what I've got is the Sponti, which is described as being native ferment, bottle conditioned, dry, sparkling. It's 8.5% alcohol, 2018 vintage, 45% Northern Spy, 25% Golden Russet, 23% Baldwin, and 7% Wixon. Those are the 4 varieties. Northern Spy, I know, is really quite a high acid driven apple. The Golden Russet is one of my faves and provides the amazing aromatics and the quite a lot of the alcohol. The sugar content comes from there too. Baldwin was an old, really popular, it was like the most popular dessert apple in the 19th century. And Wixon, I can't remember. I think it's a crab. It's a slight sort of acid driven again. This is, it's a Sauvignon Blanc. It is so floral. It is elderflower. It is a little bit passion fruit, bit menthol, green pepper. It is an utter joy and delight. And the textural component from having the fine lees in there, I think actually is a really important thing. If it had been disgorged and if it was that sort of super bright crystal clear, it would be a little bit more linear, a bit more narrow. This has got some real nice texture. It's an eminent. It's the complete antithesis of big, bold, rambunctious kind of West Country Oliver's Ross on Wye, and I love it very much because of that. And as a drink by itself, it's lush.
And Grant, with yours, what have you got? And is it worth the spill on the floor?
I have got the Liminal 2018, 63% Golden Russet, 22% Geneva Tremlets, 15% Northern Spy. All the same method as yours as well. I love the haze. I love a little haze to ciders. It's not that I don't like crystal clear, but it feels more connected to what it is when you can see a bit of cloudiness in it. And same as you guys, aromatics are insane. Quite sort of, really floral, bit herbal, maybe mine. Bright,
herbal,
fresh, and as you said, there's a kind of citrus pithiness to that's incredibly pleasant, grassy, maybe fresh, like fresh grass. Just tastes really kind of green.
Yeah.
I guess it seems, it's bright and it's kind of very focused. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as you said, not big, not bold, but it's amazing when you lift it. What you get on the nose every time you lift it is incredible.
Yeah. Mine's been like evolving slowly, and influenced as well by what you guys are saying. Like when you were saying about the grass and herbs, I was thinking like nettles in this. Like it's got that weird kind of savory note.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost candied orange. Then you've got like lemony, pithy, like full, just squeezing it on the nose. And then it's like that green, almost like pear flesh, kind of like that perry note coming through that obviously I get with a lot of perries, but like it's not like that red apple. It sounds silly, red apple, green apple, but it's got that fine, delicate note that I find more with perries. And the texture, if anyone's had it in the UK, Once Upon a Tree do a Bacchus cider, which is aged on the lees of Bacchus. And this has that little tiny, almost like bready, smooth character. Like it's texture with a tiny bit of taste, but it all informs it. So it's like, if this had more sugar in it, it would have like a brioche note, but all of that's so faint. And it just lets, essentially, those Newtown Pippins sing.
That's absolutely back. The herbals turn to thyme. That's the herb that's coming through now. It is changing all the time, and I've had the opportunity to meet Leif. You're right there, Martyn.
Sorry, Martyn. It's just is that your Derrida?
Oh, well, my little coming face.
Your little Derrida cum pants.
Yeah, the thing is, when everything's in its right place, there's no point being embarrassed at what you sound like.
No,
I'm gutted we're not all together sharing 3 bottles. That's what I'll say.
Totally, I know.
Well 4 bottles with Scott in the States as well. That's the thing that should be said. But it really does encapsulate what you can do with those varieties. Like I think something like this in the UK would be a bit more of a challenge to make, for the makers that would do it. Would this not be too far out for their local consumers? Like how many producers in Kent could do that with eating and dessert apples?
I think the skill and the talent is there to do it. It's the market and the understanding. It's different in the US and New York and Finger Lakes, where the likes of Eves are, and Hudson Valley, which is where this comes from. You're so close to New York, you're so close to a market where there are discerning consumers, people who would spend, who do understand. Leif's a winemaker as well, and you can tell it's got the skill and the touch of somebody who really understands the fruit and the process and time, and really wants it to be absolutely perfect. And the way that it's labeled, it's beautiful laid paper, really nice artwork. It's cool AF. It's going to be going down in all of the awesome. It's cool AF.
LOL, guys. It's cool AF.
It's cool AF. And
Gabe can't swear. He might not get on Sunday brunch again.
Hey.
This is true. The coolest cunt in town.
That's right. So it's an elegant drink, and if there were lots of restaurants open, I'm not quite sure what the state of New York restaurant scene is. This is the stuff that's going to be selling in the restaurants.
Yeah. So guys, pros, cons. What's the pros? Grant, I see you've got your hand up.
Oh, thanks, man. My pen in the air. The pros, it's fresh, it's bright, it's I think super accessible, and it's constantly changing. I think we've all said about 10 different descriptions for each sip.
Yeah.
And that for me is the sign of a really well made cider.
Yeah, I think it's super food friendly. I think it'll work well, and given the way that it's presented, it would need to appeal to people who'd be willing to spend that kind of money that they would be on a wine, on a really nice, interesting natural wine or aromatic white wine, and it delivers. I think it would appeal to those people, so it hits the mark.
Linking to you then, Gabe, pros, that food idea. I love, obviously, Derrida. Everyone saw it. Or heard it rather, but this has that kind of character, but a much milder acidity. Like, this isn't jingly jangly. This is just a gentle sort of back note. So I think, as a pro to it, you could have this with food and drink the whole bottle happily. You don't need something to kind of back it up because it's bracing and intense. This is big character, but so elegant as well.
Yeah, this is as well as being super food friendly. This could be lunch. In fact, just the bottle itself. Yeah, liquid lunch on a warm spring afternoon in the Hudson Valley. Doesn't that
take me to
nice?
2022, baby, when things are fine. And the sun's glorious. Well, let's go on to, I guess, there are going to be a base one, maybe, but cons? Any cons from you guys?
I mean, if it was available in the UK, one of the cons would probably be the price.
Yeah.
It's not currently available, but that's the only thing I can think of. But in terms of the cider itself, not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no. I don't think there are any cons. I'm not saying this cider's not for me.
Not for me. Yeah. I'll have it, mate.
Imagine that. I just fucked off. Cider, not for me.
Oh, yes.
See you later.
Any con there in the cleanup, Grant?
Oh, of course, yeah. Actually, there was a con, wasn't there? It exploded all over me.
But doesn't that show you how nice it is as a drink that you forgot that you went, fuck, I'm going to have to stop recording this podcast to go clean?
Which, yeah, I mean, it's my fault. I don't think you would.
That you didn't mind it breaking your computer.
You wouldn't mark down a like a champagne or a prosecco for that reason, either, would you?
Yeah, you would.
So I wouldn't. You like it? It's part of the drama, isn't it? It's
having a spurter and it jizz everywhere. That's not what it's all about.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't like wasn't a pure gusher. It was just just lively.
Just
lively. Tom Oliver gets away with it.
This is
pure
true.
gusher.
This is true.
No, hang on. Tom Oliver gets away with it. I've never had Tom gush for me. Have you guys had Tom's gush?
I have many times, but
really?
I've known Tom for a while, so.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm excluded from the girthiest gushing.
If you frequently his like medium bottle conditioned, it is fiery. Fiery.
Medium and medium dry.
Oh yeah, you put it in the fridge and it's super chilled, and you go outside and you open it and it will still do. Yeah.
I can't believe I've not had any of this. Isn't like a Tom could never do wrong for me.
Not my Tom.
I don't know about the Tom you've had. No, but I literally was like, you're chatting shit here, lads. And the fact that you've both said it is like, well, I got some egg on my face. But
you mean you haven't tried everything he's ever made?
I have, but I've chilled it perfectly. Yeah. No, but cons for you then, Gabe. What are we saying?
I suppose partly one, you could say like an expectation management point of view. If it were to be drunk in the UK, where this style of cider is less common, and you'd be expecting bold kind of tannin, it obviously doesn't have that. That's not to say there's anything wrong with the cider. That's just about sort of trying to expect what's kind of going on. I'm finding it hard to kind of call out, because
it's honestly, like you said, like a lunch. It's fucking breakfast, man.
Oh yeah,
it's breakfast. Like it tastes. It's now like tastes to me like just a glass of grapefruit juice. It's
Mine hasn't got that bitterness, but it's definitely got the fruit. But the cons, I think realistically, what you're saying about bringing it in and the price here, that I guess would put it at a point. But also, that's the fucking point of premium shit. Like, pay the piper kind of thing. I bought Derrida from Two Belly in Bristol. I'd happily buy anything imported that's worth. Like Gabe, you gave me a bottle of Thick as Thieves from Angry Orchard and Tom, and it's like any amount of money that would cost me, I would love to have that experience again. But that's because it's in a premium category. So I wouldn't necessarily say its premiumness is a con if you understand it that way. But just how many people have the language in the UK to drink this, as silly as that sounds? Like, how many people are going to come to this and not think, like you said, Gabe, oh, it's not got tannins? Like, oh, well, how would you get this into wine drinkers' hands in the UK? How would you get this into like spontan beer heads' hands in the UK? In America, it's probably different because they're from there. But how do we do that?
Do you know, it's giving them the opportunity to taste. The taste speaks for itself. So it's having the product in the UK, it's pouring sessions, it's tastings, it's people like you, Martyn, who like when a group of people come in that have the opportunity to be so into cider and haven't had the opportunity to have that experience. You're the kind of person who would almost buy them a bottle, open it up, and it would change their world and change their mind. So it's having the ciders and it's having the accessibility, and it is moving, it is changing. US is a slightly different place in terms of there are all these amazing products in it, and it is kind of getting out there. In the UK, with the likes of Grant helping to bring in some of these fantastic ciders from outside of the UK and distributing awesome ciders all around the country. It's just having access and opportunity to try these kind of things and to have a crack. And certainly, we discussed this before, that we've seen through 2020 and through the lockdown periods that people are being a little bit more kind of curious. It'd be really interesting if there was any data, which obviously there won't be, about the sales of 750ml bottles during the last kind of 8 months. I think we would see that the sales have skyrocketed.
So, Grant, with your company having skyrocketing sales, how are you doing in
Well, I'm not doing this podcast anymore.
Yeah. My partner's told me off because the floor's dirty. It's covered in cider.
I know. We're moving out in 2 weeks.
Oh,
They're going to come in and be like, it smells of stale apples in here.
Dude, this,
and it's just right in the floorboards. So it's all right, the dog will look up.
That's right, it'll clear the grouting. It's fine.
And finally, guys, what level of drinker would you give this to? Where on your cider journey would you most appreciate this?
Pretty far on.
Yeah,
I would suggest.
Yeah.
This is not an entry level cider.
It's an entry level in terms of taste because it's so accessible and so kind of fresh, but not because it is very different to what many people have tasted, and because if you were to purchase it or to look to purchase it, and the price, whatever it may be, will be reasonably hefty, I would have thought, compared to what might have been there before. So to understand maybe the why it is as it is would require some experience of having sort of tried a lot of things and to know to get to that point. So it's sort of it's these are super tasty, easy kind of drinks, but it's often the way, isn't it? That some of the most accessible and seemingly simplistic drinks are the ones that got at the greatest degree of sort of complexity and challenge in producing them.
Well, for me, it has that kind of wildcard element with where you draw your kind of journey. So, like for me, when I was starting to drink cider, I wouldn't have liked this because it would have been in my head a weird wine, and I didn't enjoy wines then. But I know a lot of people that when I was working at Clapton Craft, I would happily buy ciders myself because I wanted to drink them. And props to the owners. They gave us amazing discount because they wanted us to try everything. But I would buy a bottle of, say, Huxham blend from Fine and Foster, or even as a more extreme one, Art of Darkness from Little Pomona. And people would come in, they're like, hey, what beers are you drinking then? Because there's like 1,000 beers there. And you're like, oh, well, I'm actually drinking this cider. Or just say, oh, just try this. And you'd give them, say, the Huxham, and you'd talk about the Proseccos or the Cava that you just got in. And you tie their wine journey to the cider journey. So if you're someone who loves, say, that edgier side of wine and natural wine, and are interested in the fermentation of it, this is a perfect entry point to show you what cider can be. But if you're, say, a beer drinker who just likes pale ales, I think this, you might like the taste, but then, like you say, you might look at the shelf and go, how much? Like, the process is alienating if you're out of the know. But if you're in the know with wine, this would be a fucking killer introduction. So either your first or your last.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nowhere in between.
I think he'd be happy with that. Like, as a maker, I think this is a glorious fucking liquid, and I'm annoyed that my glass is emptying because I want it forever.
I know. Well, and also I really need to save some for Jay to try it because I think she'll fucking love it. Mm-hmm. It's like have you had that Lamos sparkling wine?
No.
I've not.
It's a Prosecco, and it's like a like unfiltered natural Prosecco, and that's exactly what it's like. It looks like it tastes like it. It's fucking stunning.
That's not the one that comes in like the big stubby clear bottle with the thin neck, is it?
No,
because this reminds me of that. I think that's that's definitely a Prosecco. Case of Belfi, I think that is, but it's
right.
The same thing of like, that's what I thought of, like, fuck. It's, my voice went fuck. It's that, it is that elegance, and it's wild. It's basically wild apple wine to me. Like, that's what I would
yeah, totally. Well, and like Gabe said, that he is I think he is a winemaker and as well, and you can tell.
Yeah, but
like it's.
But how different that is to say, I brought it up and it kind of comes full circle with it, with Simon Day of Once Upon a Tree. His approach to winemaking and cider making, it's obviously influenced by his winemaking. But this is almost at the other end of that. Even though it's a winemaker coming to cider, it's like I wouldn't put them for the same drinker, but they're both at the top of their game in their approach, which is in the same categories.
I think what we're trying to say here is that we quite like them.
Yeah, there you go.
When we edit this, that's it. We like them. It's obviously very apparent that Leif is a brilliant cider maker, and we've got 3 different products, and we like them all. And if you are in the USA and you want to get a hold of these fantastic products, I don't know where to go. Where do we go?
Sundstromcider.com.
There we go. You heard it first. Well, not first, but you heard it.
It will be in the show notes as well, but the spelling might catch you off if you're not sober. So, like I said, we will put it in the show notes, but yeah, sundstromcider.com.
Amazing. Right, that's the tasting done. Let's get on to a little bit of gaming fun.
So, Gabe, let's go for the game.
Thank you, Benjamin Franklin.
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
All of them. No. Thank you, forefathers of America.
Thank you, all of the forefathers. They indeed collectively are correct. It is time for this week's game. Now, Grant, he has hosted one. Martyn memorably hosted one not so long ago. So naturally, it falls upon me to have devised a game to pit Martyn against Grant. And if there's one thing that we have learned is that Grant is possibly the most competitive person I've ever met. And do you know what? I was thinking about...
And Gabe's a cheat.
Hang on. Grant, have you put your hair back already? Like, ready to go for the game?
Have you rolled your sleeves up?
I've got a ponytail in.
It's in. So, the game. This is it. Now, naturally... given this is my game, the game is all about me. Rather,
yes.
It's all about my book, Ciderology. This quiz, this game, ladies and gentlemen, it's called Ciderology Knowledgy. AKA, also known as the friendship test. Don't fuck it up, guys. Like, you obviously know this book through and through. It's not as if I don't talk about it enough, is it? So...
You should have just called it cider. You should have just called it Ciderology. Why?
Shit! This game is called CiderKnowledgy, written by Grant Hutchison, as it happens.
Hot on the mic today.
I'm looking at the shelf because I want to try and grab it, but I've already packed it.
This is it. Oh, well done. So. Gentlemen, obviously Martyn isn't cheating and reaching for his copy of Ciderology, but producer Scott is. Look at that. So to dispense with the, let's say, the voting irregularities of the judging between Grant and I last time round, rather than taking in turns to answer the question, I'm going to ask the boys this time to write their questions down individually so that there's no accusations of copying, and so Grant can't throw his toys out the pram. So are we ready? Are you overbrimming with joy to not knowing anything about Ciderology by Gabe Cook?
It's not even that. I want to confess, it's not that I haven't read the book, Gabe. I am illiterate and I just like the pictures.
Well, to be fair, that is partly why the book works, because it has got really nice pictures.
I'll turn my cat back round. I'm not going to win this.
Dare I say, the questions have been very, very cleverly positioned so that you could have an articulated guess, even if you hadn't read Ciderology by Gabe Cook, which obviously you should have done. So, are we ready?
Yes. Yes, and I'm glad that we can all again hear a bell when we mention Ciderology by Gabe Cook.
Absolutely. That's the only reason why I've done CiderKnowledgy is to mention Ciderology.
The bell boys just like, mate,
he didn't think of it.
Ciderology knowledge.
All right, so let's start the quiz. Here we go. Question 1. On page 7 and 8 and indeed 9, I was remarkably and quite possibly regretfully now on part of the publisher, afforded the opportunity to show my love for the village of Dimmock, where I am from. The question is, which wild flower do I mention Dimmock as being synonymous with? And if you were to come to Dimmock in March, you would see carpets of this wildflower in the woodlands, the meadows, and indeed the orchards. Name that wildflower. Your time starts now. All right, there we go. So, name that wildflower. Gentlemen, could you, for the benefit of the listeners at home, we do have cameras on and they're going to show their answers on their sheet. What have you got? Let's have a look. Martyn is showing... Well, he's actually... God, he's such an artist, isn't he? He's actually drawn a flower. What is the flower, Martyn?
For argument's sake, I'm going to say sunflower. No idea.
And Grant, you have written down...
Snowdrop.
I'm afraid You are both incorrect. The answer is the wild daffodil, Narcissus pseudonarcissus.
Daffodil. Fuck it. It's near the Welsh border, isn't
Is
it?
that on 3 pages? Is that on 3
Well, no,
pages?
Sounds like someone's not deflowered anyone, loser.
Well, that's not true. And even if it was, this is not the forum to be talking about that, Martyn. Right. Well, neither of you won, so I'm gonna move on. Right. So it's a good start. Well done. So on question 2, on page 49 of Ciderology by Gabe Cook, which bittersweet apple variety do I describe as being as bitter as the recently ex-partner of a new lottery winner? What is the answer? Here we go. So the question on page 49, which bittersweet apple variety do I describe as being as bitter as the recently ex-partner of a new lottery winner? The answer is, gentlemen, Martyn says Kingston Black. Grant says Tremlett's bitter. And Mr. Hutchison is correct.
That's my victory song, by the way.
Bravo. Excellent. Well done. Well done, Grant. Okay.
The clue was in the...
Yeah. No, I blanked and I was like, fuck, I don't actually know any apples. That was what the thought in my mind. Shit. And it's all on the premise of like, I feel like if I don't know, I'm a failure as a friend. That's where it starts. And then your brain goes, do you know it, you little ginger cunt? And you're like, well, no, I don't. Okay. I don't feel good about this.
Gabe, what he's doing here is going for the sympathy vote. Don't listen to him.
As someone who's 5'0", I just want you to know I care about you, Gabe.
It's appreciated, Martyn. But if you don't get any questions right, I'm going to hate you forever. So that's fine. Let's keep things moving. On question 3, on page 207 of Ciderology by Gabe Cook, I list Moorcroft. I list Moorcroft as one of my top 5 favourite Perry pear varieties. But by what name is Moorcroft more commonly known in the Dimmock area? Let's start that countdown. I'm not actually going to do the countdown this time.
Wait. Say that again. So it's called Moormock, but it isn't Moormock. Is that what the question is?
Moorcroft. Yeah.
Well, fuck it. So you like the Mormons. What is it?
I like the Mormons.
What's the question? Say the question again.
So, by what name is the Perry pear variety Moorcroft more commonly known in the Dimmock area? Let's see, producer Scott, who is actually reading the book, he's got the answer.
And you love this variety? Is that what you've said?
Yeah. I list it as one of my top 5 Perry pear varieties. I list Moorcroft as one of my top 5 Perry pear varieties, but by what name is this variety more commonly known in the Dimmock area? Obviously, I need to link everything back to Dimmock.
Okay, cool.
Make an educated guess is what I would say. As with all of them, to be fair.
You ready, Grant?
Are we ready to reveal?
Are you ready to reveal? 3, 2, 1.
Butts.
It's butts from Martyn, and Grant's gone for the Dimmock Red. Both very, very good answers, and both obviously incorrect. The answer is Stinking Bishop. The cheese. Stinking Bishop
Funnily
is made
enough,
in
the
Dimmock.
2 vegans didn't get it. Fucking hell. All right, come on.
I was just linking it to cheese. It is a pear. You are allowed to eat pears.
Well, it's not cheese. Yeah, we're allowed to eat pears.
Yeah, but
do you not eat anything that's got the same name as a cheese?
No. Don't even have oat milk because it's milk. It's the same, isn't it? Just for the record, I do.
Milk with a Y, though, right?
I don't drink anything that casts a shadow. That's my thing.
Okay, question 4.
How many are there? Not that I'm excited for this game to end. I just am curious.
Let's call this the final question.
Oh, okay. So this is my last chance to at least draw, if not lose, by a point.
Question 4. On page 38, I mentioned the cider bill brought in by Prime Minister Lord Bute. This bill put a tax on cider to help raise funds to quell the upstart American rebels and led to rioting in the streets of West Country villages, towns, and cities alike. But the question is, in what year was the bill introduced? I will give the point to the person who has the closest answer.
Okay.
Right.
I got mine.
Hold on. Can you say that question again? I feel like I wasn't really listening to this.
On page 38, in Ciderology by Gabe Cook, obviously, I mentioned the cider bill brought in by Prime Minister Lord Bute. This bill put a tax on cider to help raise funds to quell the upstart American rebels and led to rioting in the streets of West Country villages, towns, and cities. But in what year was the bill introduced? I'll give the point to the closest person.
Prime Minister Lord Bute.
He's a beauty.
He's a beauty.
He's a beauty. I realised I sounded like a fucking twat. I'm sorry.
Let's start that countdown.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Boom.
You ready?
Okay. What year was the cider bill brought in and the much vaunted cider riots? Martyn has gone for 1772. Grant has gone for 1858. The answer is 1763. Martyn.
Oh,
whoa!
You
see,
are...
I thought it was going to be, because it kind of led to the. I remember, wasn't it that they didn't tax that? Then they were like, all right, we'll just tax the tea, I guess. And it was like the snowball into the American Revolution kind of thing.
Well, it was certainly. The revolution was happening, and it needed to raise this tax needed to raise help the government to raise funds in order to supplant the revolutionaries.
And is this where the phrase "a man's home is his castle" comes from, Gabe?
You are absolutely correct, Martyn. If you read Ciderology by Gabe Cook, no, you don't. You just get
Thank fuck.
You just get to be my friend again. Indeed, it does, because the thing about this tax, so not only was that a tax was placed on cider, which was most heinous enough anyway, but it allowed the taxman to enter anybody's property unwarranted, just to have a bit of a nosy around and say, "You've got some cider, give me your dosh." And so William Pitt, the younger, Scott, you need to read because I can't quite remember, younger or elder, one of the William the Pitts. It was he who he was in opposition at the time and lambasted against this, the phrase sort of came out through there. And Scott, which amendment of the American Constitution states that the Fourth Amendment? It was that this speech and this idea was essentially the basis of the Fourth Amendment of the American Constitution. Cider, you see, the force of cider, illegal search and seizure. There we go. So
linking it back to my game, that's really good of you as a quiz host to think about the history and link apples and like their heritage. It not only is it fascinating, it's educational. Thank you, Gabe.
I call it facetational. It's amazing.
I believe you called it science-story, but there's no science there, so it's just ciderologist history.
CiderKnowledgy. Anyway, most importantly is that actually I can't see Grant anymore. Like his camera's gone. Like he's hang
on. No. He's kicking off that it's a draw. He's throwing his dog out the room. He's kicking
poor Freddie. Jesus.
He's not kicking
Oh, there it is.
He's not kicking stuff, he's sulking. Tiebreaker. Come on, there's got to be a tiebreaker.
I was going to say, he's wondering if we should have a tiebreaker.
Well, it just so happens that I
was going to say, you've definitely got more questions, haven't you?
It just so happened that I predicted the fact that there would be
myself up to lose.
A stalemate between such two fine cider minds. And you did finish on 1 point each. So there is a tiebreaker question. And here it is. The UK's largest oak vat is at Westons in Herefordshire. But how many pints does this vat, known as squeak, hold? Number of pints, and that's UK pints, 5, 6, 8 mil to a pint. Name the number of pints.
Can we use a calculator?
You can use a calculator.
Not that makes any difference. Yeah, why is your last one a maths question? That's shit.
Let's start
Okay.
that timer. Go.
How many pints is
it
the biggest?
closest number?
Closest number.
Okay, cool. Good. You confident, bud?
Fuck off.
Go on, write your answer
Do
down.
you know this? Do you know this?
I do.
He's bluffing so much.
No, there was a nice BBC documentary about this, I believe. Wasn't there? Yeah. How does it feel to lose again, Grant? Tell me, come on.
Did you text him, Gabe? I bet you've
No.
organised this.
No, nobody is aware of this quiz, even to myself, until early this afternoon. So, no, this is all, for once, legitimate.
Okay.
The question...
Well, I need to grow as a person. I need to lose and become a better person for it. So I'm quite happy
You sound
to
like
lose.
you're about to cry.
My answer is 1 pint.
Your answer is 1 pint.
Is that really your answer?
No. I don't know my answer yet.
Go on.
All right, okay, whatever.
He's writing a guess now. He's all flustered. Oh, it's almost like the bluff works. Fucking remind me to play poker with you, son. Jesus.
I don't play poker
Apparently
You
not.
lose.
for this exact reason.
You ready?
So, here we go. The big tiebreaker for CiderKnowledgy. The UK's largest oak vat is at Westons in Herefordshire. But how many pints does this vat hold? Martyn, your answer is... I can't quite see.
336,000. That's right. No, yeah. I can't fucking read that number backwards. 336,000.
5,000 is what I put.
And Grant, you've put 5,000.
5. Yeah.
Well, there's good news and there's bad news. I don't know what the bad news is. There is only news, and that news is that Martyn is the winner.
How close was I?
Remarkably and slightly suspiciously accurately, the answer is 336,856 pints can fit into squeak.
Yes,
Martyn,
my dad told me about this show, and I watched it because he said this. The only bit of cider knowledge I retained, and it's a nugget just to win. This is like drinking to Ridder.
Martyn, congratulations on winning Ciderology Knowledgy. Oh, sorry, CiderKnowledgy, or whatever the fuck it's called. The Gabe quiz. Well done. Grant, commiserations. I know that you'll be fuming. I know that you're still my friend. And please don't hurt me. And don't
should have read the book.
Should have read the book. You know, should have read Ciderology by Gabe Cook. Where
I did read the. This is what's more annoying is I've read that fucking
I've
book.
got to say, I read the book when I read the book when you gave it to me, Gabe.
Yeah, it was a long time
I learned
ago.
that not from your book. It was in the show.
But from the telly. He's learnt from the telly.
These young kids with their newfangled technology. Jesus.
So there we go.
Thanks for that, Gabe. I enjoyed that game. I did enjoy it. It was great.
Good fun. And, tune in next time for another inane quiz when Grant loses and gets angry again. Hooray!
Well, no, but I can't lose because it's my turn to do the quiz. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
All
So
right.
we're both going to lose, though he is the dungeon master who's going to win. Fucking hell.
He's just going to try and
Jesus.
inflict
Yeah,
his...
I'm going to make myself win the quiz.
Who's come? What is the holding number of Ricolan stock? Ooh, does anyone really?
How many pubes have I got?
336,000 of them,
Please
bud.
count them. Please do.
Okay,
That would be
so I'll
brilliant.
just take one out and be like, no, wrong.
Closest one wins. Oh, Jesus.
You were one off.
Well,
Right.
let's just tie that round up and say thank you, Gabe, for that game.
My pleasure.
Jesus.
Sorry,
Christ.
I interrupted in your tie-up.
Oh.
Well, you just interrupted the second tie-up.
What?
That's what I just handed it to say.
Oh, I thought that's... What? You
What?
can't say, oh, let's tie this up.
No. Yeah, you can, because you... Gabe, just tie it up.
So there you have it, everybody. The fantastic CiderKnowledgy based around Ciderology by Gabe Cook. Congratulations, Martyn. Commiserations, Grant. Commiserations, Grant. And yeah, let's see what quiz we have next week. So now it's at the time of the show where we get our listeners to ask the questions that they've always wanted to have answered, and they've misguidedly come to us for those answers, but we're going to have a bit of a crack anyway. Martyn, what have we been asked this week?
So, first off, it's an interesting question. I want to hear your view on it, Gabe, but I also have some stake in the game, which is why I've picked one of this. So the Bristol Vine on Insta asked, what is a dry keeved cider? I tried 10 from Pilton the other day. And I actually was part of the blending on that. So I was like, oh, I can actually answer this. So with keeving, you're basically... Martyn at Pilton is using low nutrient apples from old orchards and is taking the juice, taking the apples, macerating them, leaving them to sit, and then pressing them. And the pectin, I believe, is starting to form into a gel. Is that correct, Gabe?
Correct.
Is that science? Yes.
Keep going.
So when the juice starts to ferment, the CO2 that's produced in the fermentation lifts, and that gel forms a cap on the juice. Le Chateau Brun, I believe.
Le Chapeau Brun. You just said like the brown house.
The Chateau.
The brown castle.
The brown big house.
I'd rather have a big brown house than brown shit. Jesus. The shit cap.
A brown shit. It's like...
Shit cap. I was so close. I was
You'd
nearly
rather
there.
have a shit house. You'd rather have a shit house than a shit cat.
Well, I know Martyn's making a brick shit house of a side.
Is that a shit cat or a shit cap?
Oh my god, the place. But basically, what that does,
We almost made it.
Yeah, that slows down the fermentation because it hasn't got the oxygen it needs. But it's almost closer with those kind of things to lager if you're a beer drinker of that time and that conditioning. So that's done over the winter. It's colder months. It's fermenting slower, and basically there will be enough yeast in there if you leave it to ferment to dry. So that cider that was used in 10 was keeved, and if it was bottled at the time, say his normal ciders were, it would have enough residual sugar to give it that sweetness and character, but he'd left one tank to go extra long, and that fermentation, as slow as it was, did actually go to right near the end, and that was used as part of the blend. So he's used a keeved cider. It's been fermented in that way, but he's almost ignored the point of it so that there isn't the residual sugar, but you've got this interesting, unique character through that slow maturation, fermentation kind of process. And that was blended with a variety of wild dry ciders in barrels and a John O'Gold dessert apple that had gone through malolactic. So it's not exemplary of that process. It's essentially 10 different drinks blended into one, but that's what he says when it's a dry keeved cider. It's a cider that's dry, tannic. There's smoke from a barrel cider that's aged in Islay barrel, but it has had that distinct keeving process as part of its fermentation. It's just gone right to the edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, question 2.
Well done. Next.
Le Chateau House Brown. So, Eleanor in DC on Instagram asks, hello from DC.
Hi, Eleanor.
Any tips? Any tips on ciders to try as the temperature cools down? Now, I picked this one specifically because Gabe has just come off of a episode of Sunday Brunch talking about the autumnal bonfire ciders. So this seems almost perfect for that.
Well, thank you very much, Martyn. Yeah, so obviously this time of year is less about the crisp and the fresh and the zingy and the thirst quenching, and is more about those ciders that can be enjoyed without having the need to, try and refresh in the exact same way that those sort of more acid-driven ciders would. So you could reach for something that was a little bit more bolder and earthy and tannic-driven. And if you're in DC, you've got some great cider makers around you. Just south in North Carolina, you've got one of my favorite cider makers in the USA. They're called James Creek Cider House. I like everything that they make, but especially their russet and twigs is fantastic. This is really quite tannic, so it's earthy. It's something that you would have sat by the fireside. Don't chill it down too much. Allow all the big aromatics and the phenolics to kind of come out of it. That's what I would do, certainly. You would also want to try and seek out maybe something like an ice cider, so nice and really sort of rich and unctuous. Have we talked about ice cider? We talked about ice cider before, haven't we?
We don't. The horse couldn't go back to the glue factory. There's no need to bring him out the stables. That's
Thank you very much. Thank you. So these really big, lovely, unctuous ice ciders, and you got a little bit further north, up into Vermont. Another Eleanor Leger from Eden Ciders, possibly the best ice cider maker in the country, making some fantastic stuff up there. So check that out. And then, of course, you could go for those things whereby you get more of those, autumnal and seasonal kind of spiced kind of characters. Mulled cider, the wassail kind of things you have going on. So we're adding the cinnamon and things like that. I'm sure there's plenty of cider makers around and about DC. I wonder whether Ancho might do something like that. I think actually they just focus entirely on apple only kind of products, but there'll be many cider makers, I'm sure. I'm a big fan of Lost Boy Cider. They're quite a new producer in the DC area, so go and check out, see what they've got going on. They're in Alexandria in Virginia. Check them out too. So it's about seeking out all these different styles that don't have to be just for that hot summer's day.
Any word on that, Grant?
Sorry, I was looking up Ancho to see if they did have a.
I think they are. I think that's the thing. They adjust apple. I think that's their.
Yeah. I would recommend trying Autumn's Gold by Eves.
Oh.
I think for me, that's the I mean, the name, although it's not to do with the season so much, it's autumn who makes the cider, but it's very autumnal. It's a cider that pairs well with a kind of a deep, rich stew or a kind of a ham, and definitely a sort of, if you're in the US, a Thanksgiving cider that time of year, and a winter drink that you would have, again, as Gabe said, by the fire. There's not a better one, in my opinion, if you're based on the East Coast.
Perfect. And going on to question 3, Manly Spliff on Instagram asked, what is the best way to start a career in cider making? And only one of us has done it. So, Gabe, right now, from your experience, but also knowing others in the industry that have made such a thing happen, what would you say to Manly Spliff or Mr. Spliff?
Well, rolling a manly spliff is probably not a bad place to start, as it'd be fair to say. The cider industry is quite relaxed after all. It's cider's a tough one in terms of a career in cider making. Unlike beer, unlike spirits, unlike wine, there isn't yet the level of technical training at a university level to instill the significant sort of knowledge that exists, because the industry, although big in terms of volume, it's spread between a very small number of very large producers, and then a lot of smaller producers, whereby it's they often tend to be from a more of a rural or an agricultural background and do it through trying or learning from their father, etc., or mother indeed. So the best way is to try and seek some work experience from different cider makers. And I would really, really hasten to add different cider makers, because the great thing is that everybody has a different approach. Within any given country, let's say the UK, depending on which region you're in, different use of apple varietals, different approaches, whether it's more wild ferment or whether it's about sort of keeping things sort of clean and sort of, going for the control. That's very, very different too. Scale, if you're trying to, blend things to a consistent brand, or if you're just celebrating the wildness and the complexity. These are all completely valid and important parts of cider's story, and they're all entirely different. So it just goes to show that cider is not kind of one thing. So it's a case of just trying to get as much experience as you can. And what's starting to develop, which is one of the great things that wine has, is the idea of the seasonal, the vintage interns. That if you're a wine student, or if you qualified from doing from your wine degree, you go and you do a vintage, you do a harvest somewhere else in the world. So I worked at a winery in New Zealand, and it was amazing to have French, Swiss, Aussie, English, German, Austrian, USA, Turkish people, everyone sort of doing that sort of 8 to 10 week stint in the southern hemisphere. Then you go try somewhere in the northern hemisphere, in Europe or North America, or wherever it may be, and that soaking up of all the different sort of cultural approaches to the making of that drink is a really important thing. And cider is just starting to get that too. So, Mr. Spliff, get out there and seek your cider nirvana.
Well, the other thing I would say, to add to it in a little way, is if you can't actually pry yourself from your job or whatever, literally just, especially if you're in the UK, just homebrew it. Like, just get into it that way. Like, the interest, doing it yourself on a small scale is obviously way more laborious. But the benefits of it are like Gabe says, the best drink he's made was that 5 liters of Thorn?
5 gallons,
made it,
yeah.
5 gallons of Thorn, Perry. And there's a joy in that. And also, it's the same as brewing, where like you don't necessarily have to start at an established brewery. You can do it at home and learn all those things. And sure, you might make mistakes there, but the joy is in doing it. And especially in the UK, where you can work with dessert varieties, eating varieties, but also we have a breadth of regions that are growing cider apples. And we've discussed on the podcast the amount that are on the floor rotting away. You can easily buy them by essentially the weight and get a nice discount for yourself and make some wonderful cider from a region. So just do that. And if you like it, then get in touch with cider makers as well. Don't just be afraid to be like, I have to start as a pro. Like, fucking make mistakes and start at the bottom.
I mean, I would go even further and say you don't even worry about having to buy apples. There are apples everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Glasgow on the 3rd floor of a tenement, and I look out my front window and there is a huge apple tree in the garden across the road from me, and the apples don't go anywhere every year. and that would be enough for me if I wanted to go over, pick a few, literally juice them in the house, as you said, make a little 5-gallon decanter, 5-gallon bottle of it, and just do that with a few different trees that you see around wherever you go. That DeRidder that Martyn enjoyed so much was from foraged apples. Use the fruit that's going to waste, and don't even worry about having to pay for it.
Also, that gives you kind of the same as us drinking ciders from everywhere. That gives you the kind of information you need to go forward. So if you, like you say, if you take those apples that are near you, when we were in Hackney, Hannah and I scrumped some from a little weird housing estate that we got buzzed in on the janitor's door. And they just had like dessert variety. I don't know what the fucking variety was, but we stole a couple sacks and we went to Square Root juicers. They do like soft drinks, and they just macerated all of it for us with literally like a massive garden shredder, and we took it home and pressed it. And from a beer background, I did orange peel and star anise cider with dessert variety to be like a weird goes, and it might not be the most pleasurable drink ever, but it's the most fucking fun I've ever had, and I loved doing it. And yeah, you wouldn't ever buy that necessarily because it's not well made. But if you make it, you understand everything about it firsthand. So just fucking do it.
And people, I've been out for a cider maker up here in Glasgow called Clyde Cider, who uses kind of excess apples and basically kind of puts a call out each year. Do you have an apple tree in your garden? We will come and get the apples. And this was a couple of years ago. I did quite a lot of picking and collecting for him, and it was great. It was amazing to be outside around that time of year, around harvest time, picking apples off the tree, off the ground, putting them in the back of the car, taking them. It's the sense of achievement from creating something, however good you think the final product is. You've picked that apple, you've put that apple through the process, fermented it, and it's come out as cider. There's no better way to learn than doing it like that.
Perfect. And last but not least, Ryan from the Caledonian Cider Company asks, what will our cider world look like in 2040? What happens when Tom Oliver retires? What happens if Heineken buy a majority stake in Little Pomona? When my back finally gives out, will my kids want to keep Caledonian cider going?
Etc.
Etc. Etc. Etc. Just a bleak one to end on, I guess. Yeah, like, to be honest, Ryan, if that happens, you fucking live to 24, like, that's fine. Like, just enjoy the now. Shut the fuck up. Just leave it there.
Ask your kids. Don't ask me what your kids are going to do.
Yeah. What will my kids do carrying on my legacy? Fuck your legacy. Chill out.
On the other hand, my response to Ryan would be looking to the future, as is. Do you know what? Cider will probably not be massively different from how it is now, but it will still be here, and there will still be massively passionate people. There will still be some amazing ciders being made and drunk and enjoyed by friends. There will still be the three of us doing the Neutral Cider Hotel in 2040. We would have done 3,042 episodes.
No, we would have done 36 episodes by then, be real. The amount of re-records.
We would have done, because you'll still be on fucking Firefox. We
would have done 3,000, just I would have kept forgetting to be on the correct browser.
And also, Tackle and Guns will still be open, Ryan, so you can buy a headset for the 80,000th episode.
We'll do like a. Remember, there was a TV show in Britain called 7 Up, not to be confused with the soft drink, whereby they followed the lives of a load of children, and they sort of every 7 years they sort of touched base with them once again to see what had happened to them. And some people had success, and some people found great hardship. I would like to do that with Ryan to see every 7 years what has happened, and how large the spiders have got in. On the Black Isle.
Maybe the spiders will take over the cider.
Maybe the spiders will.
And your kids
will
be slaves to the spiders.
Cider, just from the way that it's made and everything around it, does not. Oh, we've lost him. There you go. We've lost him.
Maybe your children will be slaves to the spiders.
Oh, come on.
This troll, this fucking miserable troll. Maybe your children will be slaves to the spiders.
You're not going to go down well in Scotland if you ever visit.
Honestly, I expect to be glassed, but you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I think we can leave it at that.
Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Neutral Cider Hotel. Thank you for joining us for another week. Martyn is confined to the house and not allowed to go to Scotland in case he's physically abused. Grant is not allowed to leave the house because he might try and have a fight with somebody because he's so angry at losing the competition. On the other hand...
That's a bit racist to the Scottish, just assuming that they all do that because they're Scottish. That's a bit...
No, it was because I lost, though. It wasn't because I'm Scottish. It was because I lost.
Oh, okay. Oh no, you did lose.
You didn't let him finish. You didn't let him finish.
No, I just forgot.
Why I brought that up again.
I forgot that you lost to me. That was what I was just forgetting.
So everybody, we hope that you've enjoyed your time here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. Please do subscribe, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify and listen on your favorite podcast app. And remember to follow us on Instagram, Neutral Cider Hotel, on Twitter, Neutral Cider Pod, and our website is www.neutralciderhotel.com. Do check us out, follow us, and we will see you very soon. Bye.